Hey, good morning. This is part three. It's to why an Old Testament theocracy would be a disaster in America. And towards the end of my last video, I pointed out that there's a lot of Republicans that are adulterers. Okay. And, you know, I believe that's fair to point out, considering that many of them would want to bring back the, the Old Testament laws and they would want to apply them in America. And um, look, the death penalty, or the punishment for adultery in Old Testament Israel was death. Okay, and you know somebody who, because what happens when you get married? Okay, you you usually have a bunch of friends and family attend the wedding, and you make a vow in front of them, and you make a vow to God that you're going to be loyal to that person you're marrying. Okay. So, you know, these Republicans that are divorced and adulterers and, break their marriage vows and all that, you know, they lie to everybody that's close to them. And they can't even be loyal to a single person. Yet they want to act like they're going to be the most loyal leader, the most moral leader, and they're going to show loyalty to their constituents, to the state that they're from, to the country. And it's just ridiculous. How are you going to be loyal to millions of people if you can't even be loyal to one person? Okay. And, if a political opponent uh, is an adulterer, they'll criticize them. Okay. That's just throwing stones at a glass house. And so, you want a leader that's capable of self reflection. And, you know, people who want to implement Old Testament laws are not capable of self reflection because they think that their flesh is good and it's just your flesh that's wicked. But they think they're pretty good. And that's a recipe for disaster. And they have delusions of grandeur. And the Republican Party, this party that for years, marketed themselves as the party of family values. And look, the first time I ever heard of a Republican congressman, it was many years ago. Okay. And I believe he was from the state of Idaho. And this guy, you know, he was publicly very against gay marriage. And then he gets caught soliciting queer stuff in a public restroom. And there's a lot of Republicans like that, okay? There's a lot of politicians like that. While in when the cameras aren't around, they have opposite views of what they say in front of the camera. And, the party of family values, you know, a lot of them are from broken homes, you know, and you can't act like you're better than somebody else's family if your family's a disaster. Okay? That's just, hello, is anybody home? And so, you know, to try to condemn others things that you yourself are guilty of. It's just ridiculous. And you're gonna have a tyrant if you think that's a good idea. A tyrant will be in charge, who's very unstable and hypocritical, and you know, and eventually they'll, they're not going to judge righteously, but eventually they'll just start making up the rules and saying that it's of God as well. And they'll start killing people that they think are heretics, but they're not heretics. They're just people that disagree with them politically. And that's happened throughout history. And eventually they'll start persecuting people who actually preach the gospel. Okay? Because if you preach the gospel, it's an offense unto the proud. And if you have a tyrant that thinks he's a great guy and you preach the gospel to him, or he hears you preaching the gospel, he's going to want to have you killed. Because people with massive egos don't want to be shown their hypocrisies, okay? And that's why the Pharisees hated Jesus so much, because he pointed out their hypocrisies. And eventually they had him crucified. Another thing is, the government already lies, okay? And they already lie about their political opponents. So, knowing that they already lie now, when they don't have the power to put a bunch of people to death for various things, imagine if they actually had the power, maybe you think that, sodomy should be a crime. Okay, well, would you really trust the government to not falsely accuse people they don't like of sodomy? And now you have these deep fakes and these doctored photos and videos that you can make of people. They could just, if they don't like you politically, they could just put a picture of you on a computer, superplant it at a gay bar, and get a couple people to lie about you and say that that's you. And then they'll just put you to death. You really don't think they wouldn't do something like that? Same thing with adultery. They could, doctor a picture of you and your wife and make it look like you're kissing another woman or whatever, and they can accuse you of witchcraft and stuff like they did in the Salem witch trials. And Salem witch trials, some of those people that were murdered believed the gospel. And the Puritans, who were Calvinists, they couldn't stand the gospel, so they had them killed. Okay? And of course they lied about other people and had them killed too and stuff. And the Spanish Inquisition was built on lies. The Roman Catholic Church and their crusades was built on lies and hypocrisy. And, John Calvin's Geneva was a disaster. It's never good, because it will never be done right. It will always be done hypocritically. And then they would just add their own rules as well. The Roman Catholic Church, they have so much anti-Bible doctrine. They believe so many things that are literally the exact opposite of what the Bible says and teaches. And they would go around killing people that disagreed with them for hundreds of years. Okay? These Bible illiterates of the Roman Catholic Church would pretend that they were Christians and go around killing people that disagreed with them. Okay? And look, Protestants would do the same in America. The Calvinists, the Protestants, the Puritans, they went around also killing people who disagreed with them, even though they were dead wrong. Okay? Teaching that Jesus didn't die for everybody and work salvation, all this garbage. Jesus died for everybody. Okay? The world means world. Okay? He tasted death for every man. He gave himself ransom for all. And look, another thing that people struggle with in the Republican Party, in a hypocritical sense, is respect for authority. Okay? They'll pull out Romans 13. There's a Republican in charge. But then they'll act like Romans 13 isn't in the Bible when the Democrat's in charge. Okay? And Romans 13 starts off with talking about how, the powers that be are ordained of God. And if you resist the power, you're resisting the ordinance of God. And, if you claim to want a theocracy, yet you're, resisting the powers that are ordained of God. I mean, of course you're a hypocrite. I mean, January 6th was a mockery of Romans 13. Okay, that was an insurrection. And look, God picks the leader every single time. Okay. Whether you like it or not, Joe Biden's ordained of God. Period. Okay. Does that mean he's incapable of doing wrong? No, of course not. He's a human being. Okay. He's a sinner just like you and me. He'll do wrong stuff. Unfortunately, right? We all have this sinful flesh. But God picked him to lead the United States for at least 4 years. Okay. I don't know why. I don't know why he picked Trump before. I don't know why he picked Obama before for 8 years, or Bush, But they were ordained of God. Period. And, maybe you don't struggle with adultery or fornication or drugs.